All right, so let's start, guys. Today's class, we're going to go over, we are on STLC. We'll continue on STLC. If you can see my screen, we are still in STLC, right? Part 4, software testing lifecycle. We have completed first 3 phases: analysis of the requirement, creating test plan, and creating test cases. Today, we're going to talk about RTM and creating test environment. But there is a catch. We are not moving on from this phase. We'll come back to it because this is very, very important. This phase is extremely important, and also, I mean, every phase is important, but also like identifying and logging defects. Writing test cases and logging defects is what makes you a good QA. So we'll come back to it in a second and end of today. So assuming we're done with these 3, and we kind of are done with these 3, and now moving on to requirement traceability metrics. If you're able to see my screen and if you're able to hear me, let me know. If not, I can. Okay. Fahim, are you on, Fahim?
Yeah, I'm on.
You want to do meeting minutes today?
Yeah, I'll do, no problem.
All right, thank you, brother. All right, so requirement traceability metrics. Anyone has any idea what is requirement traceability metrics from the new group? What is requirement traceability metrics and why we need them?
Should I go, brother?
Sure.
Is a metric means it's a table against requirement against test case to confirm that we test all the requirements against this matrix to get the 100% coverage of the test cases.
Basically, test coverage, making sure that you have written test cases for each of the requirement, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, perfect. So if you look at this, right, you have requirements, right? Your requirement RQ001, RQ002, RQ003, and so on, right? Fortunately, okay, we have RQ004, right? So we have 4 requirements here, 4 requirements only, but in real life, you could have hundreds of requirements, right? You could have, let's say, 200 requirements. Now, as a QA, how do you know that you have written test cases for all of them? Is there a way to do that? Probably just by doing your job, right? But how do you ensure that something needs to show in a piece of paper or in a report, right? You know, we have full requirement coverage. So the way manually we can do it by creating an RTM. RTM stands for requirement traceability matrix. What it does, it ensures that you have created test cases for each of the requirement. That's just a simple way you can put. Any questions before I show you a couple of requirement traceability metrics document?
Professor, I have a question.
Yeah.
How often are you required to give RTM?
Requirement traceability metrics are how often. So ideally, like for every project, you should have your requirement coverage, ideally. But would anyone ask you in the project? Probably not, but you need to have it in place.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So we have written requirement for this one. Last week we have written test cases for this one, and then throughout the week you guys have written test cases for this one and this one as well. So assuming we have written test cases for all of them, but it's just we don't have it in a piece of paper, so we're gonna create it, right? And these are our test cases. Some of this we created last week. Some of this you guys created here, right? We'll grab one of this when we work on that, right? So Let me show you one. Let me pull one. So this is one of the requirement traceability metrics was created earlier. If you can have a look here, what it has is it has project name, document name, and then different columns, right? Requirement ID, requirement description, test cases, test cases number, priority. I mean, these two columns are optional. Like these four columns are important. That's it. Everything else is optional. So if you look at this, right, requirement 001 has only one scenario, one test case, basically. The one scenario, multiple test case 001, 2, 3. So this is requirement. One requirement has 3 test cases. That's the mapping. See, requirement 1 has 3 test cases. TC001, TC002, TC003. These are the mapping. So you kind of put your requirement and the test cases side by side to make sure that this requirement is covered by my test cases. Second requirement, RQ003 has, sorry, 2. RQ002, this is the requirement and it has only 1 test case. RQ003 has 2 test cases. 4 has 2 test cases. 5.1 has 2 test cases, and so on. And this one has 1, 2, 3, 4 test cases, or 3 test cases, and so on. So basically, as you can see side by side, we are writing our requirement and the test cases to map them, nothing more than that. If you're still in doubt, we can go ahead and create one. I have a good template here. I think this is a good one. So, okay. So requirement traceability metrics here, we have project name, Guru 99 Mercury Tours. This is the project we were working on since yesterday and last week. This is the Guru 99 demo, right? We were working on that. So this is your document name. This is your project name. This is your requirement ID field. So this is where you put your requirement ID. This is your requirement description. You put your requirement description here, your test case ID, the number of test case you would be creating for this requirement. So let's just grab this to make it simple. All right, so let's just grab these requirements. So this is your requirement, right? Okay. This is the requirement pretty much for all 3 of them are same requirement. All right, so okay, so same requirement applies for them. Oh, sorry. Okay, now obviously for Chrome and supported browsers, yeah, so test cases. So now these are the test cases we created last week. So let's just grab them. Test case ID. These are 3 test case IDs. What else? These are the test cases, right? Scenarios. Okay, these 3 scenarios. There's 3 scenarios. And like I said, these fields are optional. Feel free to, complete this. It's always good, when you have additional stuff, right? Okay, so this is requirement coverage for one requirement. And now if you go to second requirement, what is the second requirement? This is your second requirement. Let me just get the ID. Requirement ID 002. I think we have 3 test cases for this one as well. Let's just see. Yeah, this is your requirement. Okay, so why is it encoded? For whatever reason, it decided to be encoded. But how many test cases we have written for this one? Anyone remembers? These 2, I think. Only 2. Right, are you guys with me, or I am all alone?
Yes.
No, no,
No,
we're listening.
yeah, okay, okay. No, all right. So
So Brother Kadir, so it's basically like organization
yeah,
of the
it's
test
just
cases.
reporting and organizing, yes.
Okay.
So basically, you know, like for your manager can come and ask you, hey, did you write all the test cases? Right? You're gonna say, yeah, I did it. So now, how would he believe you? How? Like I said, like you guys submitted how many test cases?
200 plus.
200 plus. You think your manager has time to go through all of them? Of course not.
Uh,
So now you need to show him the requirement coverage, and this is what we are creating here. So okay, so these are the second sets of requirement, right? RQ002 and so on, right? I'm not gonna go create more. I just want to know if you guys understand this concept. Guys, does it make sense or no? Or should I continue or try to explain it a different way?
Well, one quick question, Brother Kadir.
Yeah.
So do we use the RTM and test case template, whatever we have, like, do we make them simultaneously, or because essentially the test case scenarios are here as well. So, or do we just complete this RTM matrix and that's it?
No, you create your test cases first. You create
Okay,
test
yeah,
case.
as we did. And then after that, we copy and paste them into here.
Yeah, RTM, you don't write anything from scratch. You just you need to have a good template, and you just need to make sure that you have all the requirement in one side. So let's say your project, you have 200 requirements, and list them out first, and then go and grab your test cases, corresponding test cases.
That we created and wrote on a test case template like we did for our homework.
Yeah.
And then copy and paste that into this document.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions on RTM? Now here is the best part of RTM. Now that like this was the old concept and you still need to learn it, you still need to know what is RTM and how to do it manually. Now RTM is being done automatically. RTM is, there are tools that it does it automatically. So you don't even have to create, you don't have to create any of this. But for you to understand, like for the interview, if they ask you, do you know an RTM and how to create an RTM, that's what you need to tell them, right? You know, what is RTM and how do you create an RTM? Things like this, right? But tools like Jira or other tools, like they create their RTM or test coverage automatically. Let me see if I can give you an example here. This is my project. I'll try to give you an example. Okay, let me see. Issues. Well, let's go to the project. Active sprint. Okay, let's see if we have a test coverage here. This one does not. Okay, so right here, right? Let me open this one. Separate thing. Okay. So this is a Jira tool, right? You see it says test coverage. So this is a requirement, right? It's a requirement. When you click on this, it's going to tell you here whether if you created test cases or not. Here it says uncovered, meaning you did not create your test cases. So notice, like, you know, in Jira, you don't need to create your RTM. It test coverage. Basically, RTM is nothing but test coverage. So it has it here. So here it says uncovered, meaning you don't have any test cases. If you had test cases, it would say covered and it will have a green background here. And those kind of test coverage reports, you can find it under report here. In one of those reports, if you go to testing board, there are so many reports, you'll find this coverage here. So you don't need to create an RTM. You see this test coverage right here. And simply click on it and it will give you test coverage report. So you don't need to create an RTM. This does it for you. If I can find something that has test coverage in place, I'll show you. Just give me 1 second. Okay, maybe. Let's see, which team? Sunrise, maybe. Yeah, let's see. Again, this one. We're in the middle of the project. No one is writing test cases. I can show you differently. I have to. Let's see. Okay, so I have my tickets here. I can go story, story ticket, and unaccepted. Okay. So not a good example. Let's keep looking. Let's see. Shiba. Yeah, again, not a good example, but let's see. Let's not give up. Okay, and in senior cats. Okay. Trajectory or in status character line. Should type in story and team. That's the equation. And okay, we need and here and start a slide. Okay. Cool. Intercom. Okay, so here you go. So you see,
Brother, can you please zoom in a little bit?
sure. So here you go. So this, look at this, like, when you click on test coverage, it's showing is okay. It has test coverage and it's showing green. So you can see, right, you don't need to create RTM. This one already has test coverage and it's showing that it's okay. And it's going to show up in the report. This is the test case. So things like this right now, like all the tools does it automatically, so we don't need to worry about it.
Kadir,
Yeah.
so this should show okay as long as there's test cases submitted.
Yeah, like previously I show you one that did not have test coverage and it says uncovered, right? So this one is showing okay and it's showing green.
So somewhere in the back you have there
Right
would be
right here, your test.
okay, the test is there.
Oh, so good thing. Let me show you. Let's open it, right? You guys were writing test cases, so this will make sense. Right, so test cases, so we have written it in Excel. So Excel is, standard. Everybody can and know and should know how to use Excel. But when you go to your company, they could use different tools like Jira, X-ray is one tool, ALM is another tool, quick test and some other test. These are many tools, right? So depending on the tools, you can see, so in Jira, you can write test cases like this. You can write test cases like this. You can see your actions, your data, your expected results. Actions are your test steps, right? The action, you see step 1, step 2. Okay, so you can see this is your description, basically. This is your ticket, and let me open the case here so you can relate to it. Okay, so this is your test case number. In the tool, the number is auto-generated, and then you have description, right? So let me show you side by side so it will make more sense. So this is the number, is auto-generated, right? And this is what we're talking about here, this number. And this is your description. This is the description you're writing, which is here. Then your steps, right? This is your steps. You're writing your steps here, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. And expected result. This is your expected result right here. And notice here it says test data. Data is nothing like, but if you need any kind of test data to access that application, for example, the URL, right? Application URL. For example, if that application requires for you to log in your username and password, things like this. These are the things you need, right? So in a professional environment, they should have a tool. And in IT solutions, even I will have a tool soon once we finish this learning process. So we'll buy a tool, we'll get license and give it to you guys, give you access to work on that tool. And then you can work on it. Eventually we'll get there. Right now it's not relevant. If you don't know your basics, there is no reason for us to go to actual practice. Does it make sense? Are we clear on the test cases and RTM?
Yes.
Cool. Great. Now moving on. So what I'm going to say.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if the test cases is failed, so when we like in the green button RTM is showing okay, but if the test cases is failed, like so how do you know like the test cases is okay?
Or do you know if test case is okay or test cases fail?
Like fail.
Exactly. Save this for later. It's we're gradually going there. We are in STLC test case creation right here, designing test cases. When we go to test execution and defects, this is when it's more relevant. So good question, but hang on to it for now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So about RTM, guys, I don't want you to create an RTM. I don't want you to worry too much about RTM. RTM is something you need to understand. Once you understand, you know what it is and how to create it. That's it. Don't worry about creating one, just understand it. That's all I'm requesting from you guys. And nextly, let's talk about creating test environment. Anyone has any idea how to create test environment? What is test environment and how to create test environment? From the new group. Why I am asking you guys this, because
brother, it will be like a link. It will be created either from the test team or maybe a little higher up, maybe lead or somebody. And they will provide us the link, like a URL link, and we will be using that link to test our test case. I mean, our application.
From the developer, right?
Test environment is just one aspect of it. Right, having that physical link is just one part of setting up test environment. But those of you created a test plan, you guys should know.
Yeah, it's basically where we test the system in a test environment. So like as the previous brother said, it's in a link. So test environment is a link, is where we test the system and where we do all our work in our own environment,
Including all the hardware and
okay, let's be a little bit more organized. So you guys are familiar with test entry criteria, right?
Yes.
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 Remember test plan. You guys created test plan. You guys identified and planned for test entry criteria. And what is test entry criteria is nothing but creating or setting up your test environment. So here, this phase, creating test environment or setting up test environment. Test entry criteria, and this is same. As part of your test environment, what are the things you need? You guys mentioned the link, the actual environment where you're going to do your testing. That's just one part of it, right? What else do you guys need?
The hardware, the access, meaning the network and everything, the application itself, whatever documents you would need, the test plan.
Okay. What else?
Test cases even.
We need test cases, test plan.
Cases, yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
The tester itself.
Requirements.
Requirement, yeah. Without requirement, how do you test? And you need your testers, right? So these kind of things. As part of configuring test environment, you start with your requirement. You need the requirement first. You need your test plan. You need your test cases. You need your RTM. You need your actual test in application, the application that you're going to be performing testing against, you need those. You need test data, any access, all of this, right? So these are basically checklist, right? Checklist of your test entry criteria is nothing but test environment, creating test environment or setting up your test environment. I have
So just to clarify real quick, the testing environment is basically joined together with the development of your test cases then, right?
sorry, can you repeat that?
When you're in the test environment is basically when it's while you're working on your test cases as well, you're basically already in the test environment.
No, you're saying when you're creating test cases, you're already in test environment. That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Test environment is bigger than test cases. Test environment is everything combined
Okay.
for you to perform your testing.
Okay.
And this is one part of it, right? Here, this application is in QA environment, and this is just one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is application is given there in your environment. Okay, so today's class, I'm going to keep it nice and simple and short, but to the point. So we have covered two of this, right? Two of these things, phases of STLC. And now we're going to go back here. We're going to go back here and talk a little bit about test cases, because clearly some of you submitted test cases and some of you didn't. And I understand why, because we had a huge ask, and I'm glad you guys put the effort in. How many of you have seen the video that I shared about test cases? You know which video I'm
Yes,
talking
I did.
The one where he was basically giving samples and like interview questions, right?
Yeah, the guy, forgot his name.
He was making creative test cases.
His name was Andrews or something.
About the pencil.
This
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So without watching this video, I think, we cannot be as good QA as we would want to be. I myself, like after 10 years being in this field, I found this guy was extremely helpful. Okay, so what I need from you guys is to complete this requirement. So the other requirement, you guys spent enough time, I understand, which was very good practice. And I've created another requirement for you guys for this week. And I need you to create maximum test cases for this one. It's very simple. And this is very simple. Need to create, everything is one place. Requirement for a pen. And this is the design document, and this is the requirement. I need you to create maximum scenarios. And once you create those, we're going to execute it and find and log bugs and whatnot. We're going to continue an STLC journey. If you see STLC right here, we're going to start from here, execute, and then find and log bugs. And we're going to start from there. Is it a fair ask?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
You need to be expert in test cases. You have to understand. You need to be able to come up with test scenarios, different scenarios, multiple scenarios, negative scenarios, positive scenarios, boundary value scenarios, everything you need to be expert in. Okay, so I'm going to submit this. I will share this with you guys. Feel free to watch the video again, because he talks a lot about these things. And then please submit your homeworks from Thursday, from Monday to Thursday, Friday, even Friday, Saturday, maybe first early part of Saturday. Those of you finish early, please submit your homework so we can review them. It's unfair to review everything together in the last minute. It's impossible. It's not just unfair, it's impossible. And yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. I just have one more thing to show you guys. We are starting with mock interviews. So we have this mock interviews coming up. and it's going to be 5:30, 5:45. You guys said, okay, so we'll do 5:45. And this one for Mamun is second round is going to be 4:30. You requested early. And this is the panel, guys. Hopefully, Samad, I have added you. I have added for the Sadiq. Please prepare yourself. I don't want to hear that you guys cannot do it. I know you're more than capable of doing it. If you have any other issues, then yeah, we can look into it. But I think you're more than capable, and you need to do it. And slowly we'll start engaging others as well.